You ever feel like your mind is working against you? Like no matter how hard you try, it's stuck in a loop, overthinking, second-guessing, losing motivation, or doubting your worth? The truth is, most people don't need a brand new life. They need a better mindset. And that shift doesn't come from big, dramatic changes. It comes from simple habits practiced every day, habits that quietly shape the way you think, act, and respond to the world around you. This isn't about being perfect or pretending everything's fine. It's about giving yourself real tools that actually work in the middle of real life. The stuff that helps when you're tired, frustrated, stuck, or just trying to get through another long day. It's about getting honest with yourself, staying consistent, and learning how to show up with clarity and purpose, even when it's hard. In this video, we're going to walk through 10 practical, powerful habits that have the power to completely shift your mindset. Not overnight, but over time, if you stick with them. Each one is doable. Each one is real. No fluff, no hype. Just clear steps to help you get out of your own way, feel more in control, and start building a mindset that actually supports your growth, not blocks it. And here's something worth holding on to. You don't have to fix your whole life at once. You just need to start. One habit, one shift, one honest moment at a time. So if you're ready to stop spinning in circles and start making changes that actually last, stay with me. The path forward isn't out there. It's right here, in the way you think, the way you act, and the way you train your mind to work for you, not against you. Let's get into it. Chapter 1. Start your day early and set clear intentions. There is something powerful about the early hours of the morning. The world is quieter, distractions are fewer, and in those moments before the noise of the day begins, you are gifted with something most people waste: control. When you rise early, you take the reins of your day before life has a chance to pull you in 100 different directions. You give yourself space to breathe, space to think, and space to build. The way you begin your day is not just a routine, it's a reflection of how seriously you take your life. Starting your day early and setting clear intentions is not about becoming perfect or doing more than everyone else. It's about doing what matters before the world asks you to do what doesn't. When you wake up late and rush into your day, you've already lost your chance to lead. You're no longer choosing your path. You're reacting to it. You're not grounded. You're chasing. Your mindset gets cluttered with stress. Your body is tense, and your decisions are made from pressure, not purpose. But when you begin your day with purpose, when you rise early, set your mind right, and give yourself time to reflect, move and plan, you walk into the world with calm and power. You don't just survive the day, you lead it. Waking up early is not about a number on the clock. It's about starting before you're needed by others. It's about claiming that sacred time that belongs to no one but you. It could be 5 a.m. or 6:30 a.m. What matters is that it gives you space. That time should be quiet, free from screens, noise and notifications. This is where your mindset begins to rewire. Not through sudden breakthroughs or big declarations, but through the quiet discipline of showing up for yourself consistently, even when no one is watching. That is where self-respect is built. That is where clarity is found. That is where progress begins. To start early means you must end well the night before. You cannot expect to rise strong if your evenings are filled with chaos, scrolling, or distractions that keep your mind overstimulated. Discipline in the morning starts with discipline at night. You need rest, not just sleep. You need an evening that helps your body wind down and your mind disconnect from the world's noise. So begin to protect your nights. Turn off your devices earlier. Avoid meaningless content. Prepare for rest. Sleep is not a luxury, it's fuel. And without enough of it, your early morning becomes a burden instead of a blessing. Once you rise, the first thing you give your attention to shapes your entire mindset. If the first thing you do is check messages, emails, or social media, your brain instantly shifts into reaction mode. You're no longer in control, you're responding. And most of those inputs are not designed to make you feel calm or focused. They're designed to stimulate and distract you. That's why your first moments must be intentional. Start with silence. Start with breathing. Start with something that grounds you. Maybe it's sitting in stillness. Maybe it's prayer. Maybe it's reading something thoughtful. Whatever you choose, make sure it's feeding your mind, not draining it. After you've given your mind space to wake up without noise, begin setting your intention. This is more than just making a to-do list. This is about deciding who you want to be today. Ask yourself what kind of energy you want to bring into the day. Do you want to be calm, focused, strong, patient? Then write that down. You must decide what you will bring into the world before the world brings its chaos to you. Intentions are anchors. They remind you what matters when everything else tries to pull you away. Next, identify what you need to do today that truly moves you forward. Not the endless list of tasks that feel urgent but change nothing. Choose the one or two things that actually matter. Things that are aligned with your goals, your growth, and your peace of mind. Make these your priority. When you set your intention around these, your energy will be more focused, and your time will be better spent. This is how progress happens, not through doing everything, but through doing the right things with clarity and consistency. Physical movement is another essential part of an intentional morning. Your body and your mind are deeply connected. When your body is stiff, your thinking is slower. When your energy is low, your motivation drops. So even 10 to 15 minutes of stretching, walking, or light movement can completely change how you feel. It's not about building the perfect workout. It's about waking up your system, getting blood flowing, and sending a signal to your brain that you are alive, alert, and in motion. You don't need a gym, you just need the willingness to move. Journaling in the morning is another powerful tool to build clarity and purpose. You don't have to write for an hour. Just a few sentences about what you're thinking, how you're feeling, or what you're aiming for can shift your entire mindset. When you write things down, you remove the fog. Your thoughts become clearer. You begin to understand your own patterns, and over time you'll start to see your own growth on the page. There will be days when you won't feel like waking up early. You'll want to hit snooze, avoid the discomfort, and tell yourself you'll start tomorrow. But every time you choose to rise early anyway, you build mental strength. You teach yourself that you can do hard things. You prove that your comfort doesn't control your choices, and that's how you begin to trust yourself again. Discipline builds confidence. Consistency builds momentum, and the habit of rising early becomes something deeper than a routine. It becomes part of your identity. Life does not reward people who only move when they feel like it. It rewards those who can move through resistance. The world is full of distractions, excuses, and noise. But in the stillness of an early morning, you gain something rare: space to think, time to decide, clarity to lead yourself before the world leads you. And when that becomes normal for you, your entire mindset begins to shift. You stop rushing. You stop reacting. You stop giving your best hours away to things that don't matter. You take ownership of your life, one morning at a time. Starting early doesn't make you better than anyone else. It makes you more aware of yourself. It makes you more intentional. You begin to see how much of your life is shaped by how you begin each day. And the more you build that habit, the more you realize that your future is not created by big leaps or lucky breaks. It's shaped by small, repeated choices made in quiet moments. The decision to rise when it's easier to sleep. The choice to reflect when it's easier to scroll. The commitment to build when it's easier to delay. Many people wait for motivation before they take action. But motivation comes and goes. What creates transformation is structure. So build a simple morning routine that you can stick to even on hard days. It could be just 30 minutes. 10 minutes of silence. 10 minutes of movement. 10 minutes of intention setting. That's it. But if you protect that time, guard it like it matters, and repeat it daily, you will change. Not all at once, but surely and steadily. There's no perfect way to start your day. Some people meditate. Some people journal. Some walk in nature. Some write down goals. Some read pages from a book that lifts them. What matters is not what you do. It's that you do it with intention. That you're not just waking up and falling into life without thought. That you're not living on autopilot. Because when you live without intention, you begin to drift. And when you drift, you end up places you never meant to go. Every strong mindset is built in the beginning hours. You cannot lead your life if you don't lead your day. And you cannot lead your day if you keep giving away your mornings. Take them back. Wake up earlier than you want to. Move your body before your brain tries to talk you out of it. Sit with your thoughts before the world overwhelms you with its noise. Write down your intention before you forget what matters. Do this not for perfection, but for peace. Do it not to impress others, but to respect yourself. Do it not because it's easy, but because it works. As your mornings begin to change, your decisions will change. You'll become more thoughtful with your time. More intentional with your words, more focused in your work. You'll feel less scattered and more centered. You'll stop chasing life and start building it. You'll stop looking for motivation outside and begin drawing strength from within. This is how the mind begins to rewire, not through big promises, but through small acts of discipline repeated with purpose. You don't need a radical transformation overnight. You just need to begin. Wake up 30 minutes earlier than you do now. Protect that time. Remove distractions. Do something simple and intentional. Build that habit until it becomes normal. And once it's part of you, you'll never want to go back. Because when you see how different your day feels when you lead it from the beginning, you'll understand that you were never lacking motivation. You were lacking a system. Now you have one. Your mornings are a mirror of your values. What you do in that quiet space before the world arrives is your truest reflection. If you treat it with respect, your life will reflect that. If you use it carelessly, your day will feel chaotic. So choose to treat that time like it matters. Because it does. It's the foundation for your growth, your discipline, and your peace. And no one can build it for you. You must choose it daily. And if you fail one morning, rise again the next. One late start doesn't erase your progress. It's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. It's about deciding every morning that your life is worth leading, and then taking the small, quiet, powerful steps to lead it well. Over time, this habit will rewire more than just your schedule. It will rewire your mindset. It will teach you that you are capable of discipline, worthy of clarity, and responsible for the life you want to create. So rise early, set your intention, and step into each day with quiet power. That's where your new life begins. Not someday, but now. Chapter 2. Train your mind to focus on one task. In a world designed to pull your attention in every direction, the ability to focus on one task has become one of the most valuable and rarest skills you can develop. Most people are constantly switching from one thing to another, checking their phones, scrolling through notifications, trying to keep up with everything, and never fully engaging with anything. This habit of jumping from one thing to the next fragments your mind. It weakens your attention. It steals your ability to go deep. And over time, it drains your confidence because you never feel like you've truly finished anything. When your mind is scattered, your results will be scattered. When your energy is divided, your impact is minimal. But when you train yourself to do one thing at a time with full focus, your power multiplies. Focusing on one task isn't just about being productive, it's about reclaiming control over your life. Every time you sit down to work and your attention drifts away, you are giving a piece of your life to something meaningless. And most of the things that steal your focus are designed to feel urgent but add no real value. Your phone buzzing, your inbox flooding, your social feed refreshing. None of these things move you forward, but they keep you busy. They give the illusion of activity while robbing you of progress. The truth is, it takes more strength to focus on one thing than to pretend to handle many. Multitasking looks efficient from the outside, but it's often just scattered energy disguised as effort. Training your mind to focus starts with choosing what matters and blocking everything else. You can't do that if you don't first get honest with yourself about what deserves your time. Not everything is equal. Not every message needs a response. Not every task deserves your energy. You must decide, in clear terms, what your most important task is in this moment. Just one. Not 5. Not 2. 1. And then you must give it your full attention until it is complete. That's how progress is built. Slowly, deliberately, with uninterrupted focus. This level of clarity doesn't happen by accident. It requires boundaries. It requires discipline. You have to protect your time like it matters. Silence your phone. Close unnecessary tabs. Step away from the noise. Create an environment where your mind can breathe, not scatter. Your environment is a mirror of your habits. If it's chaotic, your thinking will be too. So simplify it. Structure it. Build a space where focus is normal, not rare. When you sit down to do something important, your brain will resist. It will look for something easier, more comfortable, more immediately rewarding. That's not because you're lazy. That's because your brain has been trained by years of distraction, and like any habit, that wiring can be changed. But it won't change by accident. You have to retrain it through repetition. You start with just 10 minutes. 10 minutes of undivided attention on a single task. No switching, no checking, no interruptions. When you finish, you rest for a short while, then return for another focused round. Slowly, you increase the time. Slowly, your brain begins to adjust. And eventually, you build a mental rhythm where focus becomes the default instead of the exception. During deep focus, your entire mind locks into alignment. Your thoughts become clearer. Your work becomes sharper. You begin to feel momentum, not the rush of speed, but the calm confidence of depth. And in that state, your best ideas come forward. Not because you chased them, but because you created the silence where they could surface. Most people never reach that depth because they're constantly starting and stopping, constantly switching and scanning. But if you stay with one task long enough, you'll see that the answers are not far. They just need your attention long enough to appear. One of the greatest benefits of focused work is how it affects your sense of self. Every time you complete something with intention, your belief in yourself grows. You begin to trust your own discipline. You stop feeling like you're falling behind. You stop carrying the weight of unfinished tasks. You walk away with clarity, with closure, and with peace. That's what single-task focus gives you. It's not just about getting more done, it's about feeling whole again, but don't expect it to be easy. Your mind will want to escape. You'll feel restless. You'll feel pulled. But if you stay with it, even when it's uncomfortable, that's when growth happens. You're not just building a habit, you're building strength. Mental strength. The strength to stay still when everything urges you to move. The strength to go deep when the world keeps telling you to skim. The strength to lead yourself, not follow every impulse. The people who achieve lasting success in life are rarely the busiest, they are often the clearest. They know what matters, and they do it fully. They don't allow distractions to dictate their day. They don't wear busyness as a badge. They value their time because they value their goals. And they've learned that the most powerful work is not done through scattered effort, it's done through focused intention. Start by choosing just one task each day to give your full attention. Mark it as your most important. Create the space for it. Remove distractions before they start, and then commit. Not until you get bored, but until you're finished. Whether it takes 30 minutes or 3 hours, stay with it. That single act, repeated daily, will reshape your life. You'll begin to notice you get more done in less time. You'll feel more control. You'll find more energy. Because nothing drains your mind like constant switching, and nothing restores it like deep focus. If your focus slips, don't get frustrated. Return to the task gently. It's not about perfection, it's about persistence. The more often you return, the stronger the habit becomes, and with each return, your capacity grows. Eventually your mind will crave that level of presence. You'll start to notice how shallow distractions feel, how much time they waste, and you'll choose depth instead. Train your focus like you would train a muscle, with effort, with consistency, with patience. Over time, you'll build something unshakable, a mind that can cut through noise, a mind that can enter any moment with clarity, a mind that doesn't need constant stimulation to stay engaged. That kind of mind is rare, but it is possible, and it begins with one simple habit: do one thing at a time, and do it fully. Chapter 3. Speak kindly to yourself in every situation. The way you speak to yourself shapes the foundation of your entire mindset. Every thought you repeat becomes a message your brain learns to believe. If those thoughts are filled with criticism, judgment, and negativity, then over time you will internalize those messages as truth. You'll begin to see yourself through the lens of your harshest words, not your actual efforts or potential. Most people don't even realize they're doing it. They go through the day with a voice in their head that questions every step, doubts every idea, and replays every mistake. That voice, if left unchecked, slowly chips away at your self-worth. Choosing to speak kindly to yourself is not about being unrealistic or ignoring your flaws. It's about creating a space inside your own mind that allows you to grow without fear. It's about turning your inner world into a place of safety instead of constant judgment. Every time you mess up, you have a choice. You can beat yourself up and spiral into regret, or you can respond with patience, learn the lesson, and move forward with clarity. One leads to guilt and self-sabotage. The other leads to responsibility and strength. Kindness to yourself begins with awareness. You have to pay attention to how you speak to yourself when things go wrong. What's the first thing that comes to your mind when you make a mistake? If it's something harsh, something you wouldn't say to a friend, then you've uncovered a pattern that needs to change. Because here's the truth. Harshness doesn't build discipline. Shame doesn't build confidence. Growth does not happen through punishment. It happens through understanding, patience, and the willingness to try again. You are not your failures. You are not your worst days. You are a person in progress, and progress requires room to fall without fear of self-attack. That room is created when you learn to speak with compassion. Instead of "I always mess things up," you say, "This didn't go how I wanted, but I can fix it." Instead of "I'm not good enough," you say, "I'm learning and I'm improving." These aren't just comforting words. They're tools to shape a stronger mindset. They keep you moving. They keep you growing. They keep you grounded. No one gets everything right. Everyone struggles. Everyone doubts. But what separates people who rise from people who stay stuck is the ability to move through difficulty without tearing themselves down. If your inner voice is constantly reminding you of your shortcomings, you will start to hesitate. You'll avoid risk. You'll shrink from challenges. Not because you're weak, but because you've been trained to expect failure. Kind self-talk flips that training. It teaches your mind to expect progress, to welcome mistakes as part of growth, and to stay calm under pressure. Your self-talk is not just emotional, it's practical. It affects how you perform. When you speak kindly to yourself, your nervous system stays more balanced. Your decisions become clearer. You feel more in control. You're not constantly fighting your own mind. That inner support makes it easier to stay consistent, to show up, and to recover from setbacks. It builds resilience without aggression. It builds motivation without burnout. This doesn't mean you avoid responsibility. It means you take responsibility without attacking your own character. You can say, "I didn't give my best today," without saying, "I'm a failure." You can say, "I was wrong," without saying, "I'm worthless." Separating behavior from identity is one of the most powerful mindset shifts you can make. It allows you to correct your course without damaging your confidence. It allows you to improve without shame. One of the reasons people struggle to speak kindly to themselves is because they've been taught that harshness equals strength. They think being hard on themselves makes them more disciplined. But harshness without wisdom just leads to fear. Fear leads to hesitation, and hesitation kills momentum. True strength is being able to face your flaws without turning against yourself. It's being able to see your weaknesses clearly and still believe in your potential. If you grew up in an environment where you were constantly criticized, judged, or compared, then speaking kindly to yourself will feel unfamiliar at first. That's okay. Every new habit feels uncomfortable when you start. But discomfort is not a reason to quit. It's a sign that something new is being built. You're not lying to yourself when you speak with encouragement. You're choosing to lead yourself with purpose instead of punishment. Start small. Catch yourself when negative thoughts arise. Pause. Ask if what you're saying is helpful or harmful. Then shift the sentence. Speak to yourself as you would speak to someone you care about. This doesn't mean you lower your standards. It means you hold yourself to a high standard with patience, not with cruelty. You can still expect excellence while offering grace. That balance is where long-term progress lives. Also, don't wait for something to go wrong to practice kind self-talk. Make it part of your daily life. Remind yourself of your efforts. Acknowledge small victories. Appreciate your growth, even when it's slow. These moments reinforce the belief that you're making progress, and the more often you hear that voice of encouragement in your own mind, the easier it becomes to stay motivated, even during difficult days. Speaking kindly to yourself is one of the most important forms of self-respect. It shows that you value your own effort. It shows that you're not working against yourself. It gives you the inner strength to keep going when things are hard. And over time, it becomes your default. You start to trust your ability to adapt. You stop fearing failure. You start showing up with more peace and more power. This habit won't change your life overnight. But if you keep practicing it, if you keep catching those harmful thoughts and replacing them with honest, constructive ones, you will notice a shift, not only in how you feel, but in what you're able to achieve. Because when your mind becomes a place of support, you stop wasting energy on self-doubt. You use that energy to move forward. You become your own source of strength, and that kind of strength is unshakable. Chapter 4. Practice gratitude daily. No matter what happens, gratitude is not something you feel only when life goes your way. Real gratitude is a daily choice that transforms your mindset regardless of your circumstances. When you train your mind to search for what's good, even when life feels hard, you begin to build emotional strength that doesn't depend on perfect conditions. It's easy to be thankful when everything works out, but the kind of gratitude that changes your life is the one that stays with you when things fall apart. This kind of habit doesn't come naturally to most people because we're wired to notice problems. The brain is always scanning for what's wrong as a way to protect us, but that survival instinct can also make us overlook what's going right. Every day you wake up is an opportunity. No matter how tired you are, no matter how much stress you're carrying, the fact that you are still here means there's something you can do with this moment. Gratitude starts there. It starts by acknowledging that being alive is not guaranteed. When you open your eyes in the morning and remind yourself that you still have a chance to learn, grow, and rebuild, you begin to see your day differently. You stop taking time for granted. You stop complaining about things you can control. You begin to direct your focus toward what adds value, not what drains it. The key to practicing gratitude is consistency. You don't wait for a special moment to feel grateful. You create the moment. You pause in the middle of an ordinary routine and look closer. Maybe it's the warm water on your skin during a shower. Maybe it's the taste of your first sip of coffee. Maybe it's the sound of someone you love laughing in the background. These are the things that go unnoticed when your mind is rushing or focused only on stress. But when you slow down and pay attention, you'll realize how much beauty still exists around you. And once you start noticing it, your brain begins to look for more. Gratitude is also a way to calm the mind. When you focus on what's missing, you create anxiety. When you focus on what you already have, you create peace. That shift doesn't erase your problems, but it gives you the strength to face them without being overwhelmed. It's not about ignoring what's wrong. It's about reminding yourself that not everything is falling apart. Gratitude keeps you balanced. It reminds you that while life can be difficult, it is not empty. There is always something to appreciate, even if it's just the ability to keep going. You can make this habit practical by setting aside a few minutes every day to reflect. Write down 3 things you are thankful for. Keep it simple. Some days it will be something big. Other days it will be as small as a quiet moment or a kind word. Don't judge the size of the blessing. What matters is that you're training your mind to recognize value. This practice takes just a few minutes, but its impact lasts all day. It resets your focus. It reminds you that progress is happening, even if it's not dramatic. There will be days when practicing gratitude feels like a struggle. Pain, loss, frustration, and uncertainty can cloud your mind. But those are the days when gratitude matters most, because in those moments, you are choosing not to let negativity define your reality. You are choosing to anchor yourself in something solid. Even in grief, there can be gratitude for memories. Even in failure, there can be gratitude for lessons. Even in pain, there can be gratitude for the strength you didn't know you had. Gratitude doesn't eliminate suffering. It gives suffering a purpose. This mindset shift can affect how you handle everything in your life. You'll start to notice that the more you focus on what you're thankful for, the less reactive you become. You're not as quick to complain. You don't get as caught up in petty frustrations. You start to protect your peace. You learn to stay grounded. This inner calm becomes a quiet power that helps you stay focused on what really matters. You don't waste energy on what you can't control. You use that energy to grow. Gratitude also improves your relationships. When you appreciate the people in your life instead of focusing on their flaws, you treat them with more kindness. You listen better. You become more present, and that shift in you can create a shift in them. Relationships grow stronger, not because everything is perfect, but because you take the time to notice and value what's already good. That simple act of appreciation can rebuild trust, deepen connection, and create more joy between people. Another powerful effect of gratitude is the way it reshapes your self-image. When you constantly focus on what you lack or what you've done wrong, your confidence shrinks. But when you start to appreciate your own effort, your resilience, your growth, even when it's small, you begin to build a more accurate and empowering view of yourself. You stop defining yourself by your struggles. You start defining yourself by how you respond to them. Gratitude reminds you that you are not stagnant, you are becoming. This daily practice doesn't require perfection. It requires attention. The more often you turn your focus to what is working, the more balanced your life becomes. Even in a season of pain, you can find purpose. Even during uncertainty, you can find moments of peace. Gratitude isn't about denying hardship. It's about building the mindset to endure it with strength. It's about training your thoughts to search for light instead of giving in to darkness. There will always be things you want to change, goals you're working toward, situations you hope will improve. But if you're constantly waiting for life to be better before you feel thankful, you'll always feel behind. Real contentment comes from being able to see progress within the process. Gratitude gives you that vision. It allows you to celebrate the journey, not just the destination. When gratitude becomes part of your identity, you begin to show up differently in the world. You walk with more calm. You speak with more patience. You live with more purpose. You stop needing constant validation because you've already acknowledged the good in your own life. You stop measuring your worth by what others have because you've learned to see the richness in what's already yours. No matter how complicated life becomes, this habit remains simple. Be present. Be aware. Be thankful. Do it even when it feels unnatural. Do it especially when life is testing you. Over time, gratitude will not only change the way you think, it will change the way you live. And that change will become the foundation for everything you build. Chapter 5. Take full responsibility for all your choices. There is a clear line between blaming the world for your struggles and taking responsibility for how you respond to them. That line defines the quality of your life. The moment you stop making excuses and start owning your decisions, everything begins to shift. You stop waiting for someone else to change your life. You stop giving away your power to circumstances. You stop living passively and begin to act with purpose. The truth is, every decision you've made has led you to where you are. And while not everything that happens is your fault, how you choose to respond to it always is. Taking full responsibility is not about guilt. It's about growth. It's not about shame. It's about freedom. When you take responsibility, you take control of your direction. Most people struggle because they avoid responsibility. It's easier to point fingers, to explain away failure by blaming your past, your environment, or other people. But as long as you believe someone else is responsible for your life, you will remain stuck. You will wait for others to fix what only you can change. That mindset weakens you. It keeps you in a cycle of helplessness. Responsibility, on the other hand, wakes you up. It forces you to face reality with clarity and courage. You begin to ask yourself what you can do differently, not just what went wrong. Every time you blame something outside yourself, you delay your own progress. You waste time and energy looking for reasons to avoid change. But when you accept that your life is the result of your choices, you realize you can choose something new. You don't have to keep repeating the same patterns. You don't have to stay stuck in the same habits. You can change direction, but only if you accept where you are right now without denial. Responsibility means looking at your life and saying, "This is where I am, and I am the one who will decide where I go from here." This mindset builds resilience. When you stop outsourcing responsibility, you become more mentally tough. You stop falling apart every time something doesn't go as planned. You stop blaming the economy, your parents, your partner, or your boss for your lack of progress. Instead, you focus on what is within your control, your habits, your effort, your thinking. That's where change happens. That's where real confidence is born, not in wishing the world would be easier, but in becoming stronger within it. It takes honesty to take responsibility. You have to be willing to look at your own patterns and admit when you've made choices that didn't serve you. That kind of honesty is not comfortable, but it is necessary. Until you're willing to own your part, you'll keep repeating the same story. You'll keep blaming the same people. But the moment you say, "I made that choice and now I choose differently," you break the pattern. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to stop lying to yourself. Responsibility also means letting go of entitlement. No one owes you success. No one owes you happiness. No one is coming to rescue you from your own decisions. The world doesn't bend for your comfort. It rewards effort, persistence, and self-respect. When you take responsibility, you stop expecting life to hand you what you haven't worked for. You begin to understand that your results are a reflection of your discipline, your mindset, and your consistency. If you don't like your results, change your approach, but don't waste time feeling sorry for yourself. That doesn't build anything. This habit creates a foundation for every other habit. You can't be consistent if you don't take responsibility for your routine. You can't grow if you don't take responsibility for your mindset. You can't build strong relationships if you don't take responsibility for how you communicate. Responsibility touches everything. It's the backbone of personal growth. Without it, you'll keep circling the same challenges without resolution. But with it, you become unstoppable. Taking responsibility doesn't mean blaming yourself for everything that's gone wrong. It means being honest about how your choices, reactions, and beliefs have shaped your experience. And more importantly, it means being willing to shift those choices. It means recognizing that you are the one in charge of writing your future. No matter what's happened in the past, the next chapter is in your hands. but it won't be written by waiting. It will be written by choosing. To build this habit, start with your daily decisions. Look at how you spend your time. Look at how you respond to stress. Look at how you speak to yourself when no one is around. These small decisions create your direction. If you don't take ownership of them, someone else will. You'll drift through life without intention. But if you take control, you'll begin to build something that reflects your real values. You'll stop being a passenger and start being the driver. It's also important to take responsibility for your emotions. Your feelings are real, but they are not in control. You are. No one else can make you feel anything without your participation. When you say, "They made me angry," you're giving your power away. When you say, "I allowed that situation to upset me, but I choose to handle it differently next time," you take your power back. Emotional maturity begins where blame ends. You can't control how others behave, but you can always control how you respond. Another way to strengthen this habit is by being accountable to yourself. Keep promises you make. Do what you said you would do, even when no one is watching. This builds self-respect. You start to trust yourself. You start to see yourself as someone who follows through. And that creates momentum. The more responsible you are for your time, energy, and attitude, the more powerful you become. You stop needing approval from others because you've already earned your own. Taking responsibility will challenge your ego. It will force you to admit when you've been wrong. It will push you to learn instead of defend. But that's where transformation happens. Not in protecting your pride, but in letting it go. When you stop defending the version of yourself that avoids responsibility, you begin to grow into the version that commands respect, not just from others, but from yourself. You also become a better example to those around you. People can sense when someone is grounded in ownership. They trust you more. They respect your words. You become someone others want to follow, not because you're perfect, but because you're honest. You're willing to take the hits and keep moving forward. You show what it looks like to lead from within. Taking full responsibility is not a one-time decision. It is a daily practice. It's something you choose every time you are tempted to blame, complain, or avoid. You catch yourself. You redirect your focus. You ask, "What can I do right now to move forward?" That question will keep you on the path. That question will build your life. In the end, responsibility is not a burden. It is a gift. It gives you clarity. It gives you control. It gives you a way forward. When you stop waiting for someone else to change your life, you begin to change it yourself. That's where freedom begins. That's where power lives. That's the mindset that transforms everything. Chapter 6. Surround yourself with people who uplift you. The people around you play a silent but powerful role in shaping how you think, how you feel, and ultimately how you live. You might not notice it at first, but the voices you hear daily, whether they are filled with encouragement or criticism, become the internal voices you carry. Your mindset is deeply influenced by the energy of the company you keep. If you're surrounded by individuals who doubt, complain, settle, or discourage, you'll start adopting those tones in your own self-talk. But when you spend time with those who believe in growth, value discipline, and encourage purpose, their presence elevates your standard of thinking. It's not just about avoiding negativity. It's about intentionally choosing relationships that push you to become better. Being around those who uplift you doesn't mean they flatter you or agree with everything you say. It means they see your potential and they won't let you waste it. They challenge you, not from a place of judgment, but from a place of care. They remind you of who you are when you forget. They bring out strength in you that you didn't know you had. Their presence gives you room to grow because they want to see you rise, not stay the same. You don't have to be around a large number of people. In fact, fewer but higher quality connections will have a greater impact on your life than a crowd that drains your spirit. Energy is contagious. Spend time around cynicism and your goals will start to feel unrealistic. Spend time around hope, discipline and courage, and you'll begin to believe in what's possible again. Your standards adjust to match the room you're in. If you want to raise your life, raise your environment. One of the most powerful decisions you can make is to become aware of the conversations you allow into your life. Pay attention to how you feel after speaking to someone. Do you feel more inspired or more defeated? Do you walk away with clarity or with more self-doubt? People reveal who they are, not just in what they say, but in what they normalize. If someone constantly jokes about mediocrity, avoids growth, and encourages comfort over effort, they are shaping a mindset that will eventually influence your own. That influence may be quiet, but it is real. Sometimes it's hard to distance yourself from certain people because of history or obligation. But there's a difference between being kind and being available for constant negativity. You can be respectful without being accessible to energy that drains you. Setting boundaries isn't rejection, it's self-respect. When you protect your mental space, you create room for voices that align with your values. You create an inner circle that supports your progress, not your stagnation. And uplifting people aren't just cheerleaders, they are mirrors. They reflect back your progress when you overlook it. They remind you of your strength when you feel like giving up. They don't let you settle because they know what you're capable of. They speak truth into your doubts and remind you that discipline, not perfection, is what matters. They walk the path of growth themselves, so being around them doesn't just feel good, it keeps you accountable. Their actions speak louder than words, and just witnessing their consistency raises your own. Finding people like this requires clarity about what you value. You can't attract what you don't recognize. If you value integrity, effort and learning, then seek out those who live by those principles. Look for conversations that build you. Look for environments that challenge you in healthy ways. It's not about being around perfect people. It's about being around honest, grounded, forward-thinking individuals who are committed to bettering themselves and lifting others as they grow. Sometimes you will need to walk alone for a while to break free from toxic dynamics. That silence can feel heavy at first, but it's better than constant noise that weakens your spirit. In that space, you will grow stronger. You'll hear your own voice more clearly. You'll start attracting better people because your energy will no longer match the habits you left behind. It takes courage to outgrow relationships that are rooted in old versions of you, but it's necessary if you want to evolve. And when you do find those who uplift you, invest in those connections with sincerity. Be the kind of person you're looking for. Support their growth. Encourage their dreams. Celebrate their progress. The strength of any relationship is built on mutual effort, not one-sided admiration. When both people are committed to helping each other rise, the relationship becomes a powerful force. It becomes a place of resilience, clarity, and motivation. Your circle will determine your ceiling. If you surround yourself with people who see limitations, you will begin to doubt your own abilities. But if you spend time with people who live with intention, embrace challenge, and speak with clarity, your vision for your own life will begin to expand. You'll stop playing small. You'll begin to think bigger. You'll develop the mental habits required to stay focused even when it's hard. This isn't just about external motivation. It's about daily discipline that becomes easier when it's supported by your environment. When you're around people who value consistency, you're more likely to stay consistent. When you see others making progress, it reminds you that progress is possible for you too. You begin to normalize growth instead of fear. You begin to believe that effort leads somewhere. You see that setbacks are not the end, they are part of the process. If you're serious about becoming better, you cannot afford to be casual about the people you allow into your world. Every interaction matters. Every conversation shapes your beliefs in small ways. Surrounding yourself with uplifting people isn't a luxury, it's a necessity for anyone who wants to grow beyond average. And if you haven't yet found those people, become that person. Be the one who supports, encourages, and uplifts. Your energy will attract others who are on the same path. Real growth begins with intention. Choose relationships that nourish your mind. Choose environments that challenge your thinking in constructive ways. Choose conversations that leave you with more clarity, not more confusion. Over time, these choices will build a mindset that is grounded, focused, and resilient. They will help you rise, not just in results, but in who you become. There will always be people who misunderstand your focus or resist your change. Don't let their opinions shrink your vision. The people who are meant to walk with you won't be threatened by your growth. They'll be inspired by it. Keep your standards high, not because you're arrogant, but because you know your time and energy shape your future. Choose wisely, and your environment will help you rise far beyond what you thought was possible. Chapter 7. Learn something new every single day. Learning is not limited to classrooms, lectures, or degrees. It is a personal commitment to growth that must be carried into every day, regardless of age, background, or circumstance. Life itself is the greatest teacher, and every moment offers a lesson, if you're paying attention. When you choose to learn something new each day, you create momentum in your life that keeps you moving forward, no matter how small the step may seem. That forward motion builds confidence, sharpens your thinking, and strengthens your sense of purpose. Real learning doesn't always come from books or formal education. Sometimes it comes from listening deeply to others, noticing your reactions in challenging moments, or asking questions you never considered before. When you're curious instead of complacent, you uncover new ways of thinking. You expand your ability to adapt, to grow, to solve problems with creativity rather than frustration. You begin to see life not as a series of obstacles, but as a series of opportunities to gain insight. When you wake up with the intention to learn something new, your mind becomes more aware. You start to notice the way others handle pressure. You observe how someone leads a team or responds to failure. You reflect on what made your own day productive or what caused you to get off track. These small observations add up to real wisdom. Over time, you begin to build a mental library of tools, lessons, and insights that make you more resilient, more strategic, and more grounded. You don't need hours of free time to learn something new. All you need is the willingness to stay present and open. A few minutes of focused reading, a meaningful conversation, a documentary, a new skill, a lesson from your mistakes. These are all forms of learning, even failure. When viewed correctly, becomes a teacher. It shows you what doesn't work, so you can adjust and move forward with greater clarity. The key is to approach each day as a student of life, not an expert who already knows everything. Arrogance closes the door to learning. Humility keeps it open. When you acknowledge that there is always more to understand, you naturally seek out new knowledge. You ask better questions. You explore unfamiliar topics. You step out of the narrow hallway of routine and into the vast world of possibilities. Learning daily also helps you handle uncertainty. The more you know, the more flexible you become. You no longer rely on luck or wait for ideal conditions. You start taking responsibility for your own development. You stop blaming your past, your environment, or other people for your lack of progress. Instead, you look inward and ask what you can do better, what you can learn, and how you can improve. That mindset is what separates those who grow from those who remain stuck. When you make learning a habit, your conversations become richer. Your thoughts become more precise. You begin to see patterns that others miss. You connect ideas that previously felt random. Over time, this deepens your confidence, not the loud external kind, but a quiet inner certainty that you are capable of handling whatever comes your way because you've trained your mind to keep growing. And you don't need to learn what everyone else is learning. Follow your curiosity. Explore subjects that interest you, challenge you, or help you improve a weakness. If you struggle with communication, study how people speak with clarity. If you're easily distracted, learn how focus works. If you feel overwhelmed, study organization, time management, or psychology. Learning isn't just about acquiring facts, it's about becoming more capable. One of the best ways to ensure you're learning every day is to ask yourself one simple question at the end of the day: what did I learn today that I didn't know yesterday? That question turns your attention toward growth. It creates a moment of reflection, and in that moment, you gather the insight that can carry into tomorrow. Over time, those reflections compound into a strong foundation of experience and wisdom. Another practical approach is to keep a learning journal. Each day, write down one idea, one insight, or one skill you encountered. This habit keeps your learning visible. It helps you see progress, even when it's gradual. It shows you that growth is happening, even when your outer world feels the same. And when you look back months later, you'll see just how far you've come, not because of massive changes, but because of consistent effort. Some people stop learning because they think it's too late. But age is not a limitation. It's an asset when paired with the right mindset. The more life you've lived, the more experiences you can draw from. When you approach those experiences with curiosity, instead of regret, they become rich sources of learning. You stop seeing mistakes as failures and start using them as tools for improvement. The truth is, if you're not learning, you're not growing. And if you're not growing, you're slowly settling. Settling leads to frustration, boredom, and a loss of vitality. But when you stay engaged, when you ask better questions and pursue new understanding, your mind stays sharp. Your perspective stays fresh. You begin to feel energized, not because your circumstances changed, but because your thinking did. You don't have to wait for the perfect book, course, or teacher. Every situation offers insight. Every challenge contains wisdom. Every person you meet knows something you don't. If you're willing to listen, to observe, to stay curious, then you are already learning. And that mindset will take you further than talent or luck ever could. Growth is not about speed. It's about direction. When you commit to learning one new thing each day, you create steady, purposeful movement. That movement builds momentum. And with enough momentum, transformation becomes inevitable. You begin to make choices with greater clarity. You respond instead of react. You think before speaking. You learn how to lead yourself, which is the foundation for leading others. If you want to build a life of meaning, discipline, and impact, then start by mastering the habit of learning daily. Don't wait for someone to teach you. Become the kind of person who teaches yourself. In doing so, you'll gain the most valuable kind of freedom, the freedom to adapt, grow and thrive, no matter what life brings. Chapter 8. Reflect on your actions before you sleep. Before sleep pulls you into its quiet embrace, there is a narrow window of time that holds powerful potential. It is in these final minutes of the day, when the world slows down and your thoughts settle, that you are offered a chance to meet yourself honestly. Not the version of you that others see, not the image you've worked so hard to maintain throughout the day, but the one that remains when the distractions fall away. In that stillness, you can ask one essential question: how did I show up today? This kind of reflection is not about judgment or shame. It's not about keeping score or punishing yourself for every misstep. It's about awareness. It's about becoming familiar with your choices, your words, your energy, and your intentions. Every action you took today was a vote for the person you are becoming, and without reflection, you risk repeating patterns that no longer serve you simply because they remain unexamined. When you take time each night to review your day with calm honesty, you begin to build a deeper relationship with yourself. You recognize the moments when you were proud of how you handled things. You notice the situations where you lost control or acted out of fear. You remember what conversations lifted you and which ones left you feeling drained. You consider how much of your time was spent with purpose and how much was wasted. Through that process, you start to connect the dots between your choices and your peace of mind. There is clarity in reflection that can't be found in constant motion. If your days blend into each other without pause, you'll move forward without truly knowing what you're carrying. You'll keep chasing more productivity, more stimulation, more goals without understanding what's working and what isn't. But when you end the day with a moment of inward attention, you shift from living unconsciously to living deliberately. It doesn't require much. Just a few minutes of stillness, alone with your thoughts. No screens, no noise, just you, a quiet space, and a willingness to listen. You might ask yourself simple questions. What did I handle well today? Where could I have shown more patience or strength? Did I treat others with respect? Was I honest with myself? Did I live by my values? The answers don't need to be perfect. They just need to be real. This nightly habit becomes a mirror that shows you who you are becoming. And when you see something you don't like, you don't have to carry it into tomorrow. You can decide to do better. That's the gift of reflection. It gives you a daily opportunity to reset. You don't need to wait for a new week, a new year, or a major life event to start again. Every night you can choose to learn from the day behind you and prepare for the one ahead. Reflection also helps you slow down enough to recognize progress. Too often, growth happens so gradually that we miss it. But when you reflect each night, you begin to notice the small improvements. The times you paused instead of reacting. The moments you stayed true to your word. The habits you followed through on. These tiny wins are easy to overlook, but they are signs that you're on the right path. This kind of practice also strengthens your emotional discipline. It helps you take ownership of your actions without being controlled by them. When something goes wrong during the day, your first reaction might be frustration or blame. But when you reflect at night, with distance and calm, you gain perspective. You see how your tone, your decisions, your mindset all shape the outcome. And in that awareness, you begin to reclaim your power. There will be days when you don't want to reflect. Days when your mistakes feel too big, or your energy is too low. Those are the days when reflection matters most. Skipping the process on hard days only delays the healing. Even if you simply sit in silence and breathe deeply, you are honoring your own effort to grow. You are refusing to let one difficult day define your direction. Some people avoid this practice because they're afraid of what they might find. They fear regret, disappointment, or discomfort. But avoiding truth doesn't erase it. It just allows it to grow in the background, shaping your decisions in ways you can't see. Facing yourself each night is not weakness, it's maturity. It's how you learn to guide your life with intention instead of impulse. Over time, this ritual becomes a source of strength. It teaches you consistency. It builds emotional resilience. It helps you detach from the noise of the day and return to what truly matters. It doesn't mean every day will be perfect, but it means every day will be examined, understood, and used as fuel for progress. That's how true discipline is built, not through occasional bursts of effort, but through quiet, steady commitment to becoming a little better each day. You can choose how you reflect. You might write your thoughts in a journal, speak them out loud, or simply sit in quiet contemplation. There's no one right way. The only requirement is honesty. Don't hide from the parts of yourself that still need work. Don't inflate the good or minimize the bad. Just observe. Accept what is true and carry the lessons forward. Reflection also prepares your mind for rest. It allows you to close the day with understanding rather than confusion. When you process your emotions, your thoughts stop racing. When you recognize what went right and what needs adjusting, your mind becomes clearer. This leads to deeper sleep and a clearer start the next morning. As this practice becomes a habit, you'll start to feel more grounded. You'll know where you stand, what you stand for, and where you want to improve. You'll become less reactive and more intentional. You'll stop drifting and start directing. And in time, you'll see that the most powerful change doesn't come from massive breakthroughs, but from the simple act of checking in with yourself each night. Growth requires awareness, and awareness is born in reflection. When you make this a nightly discipline, you train your mind to pay attention. You become more conscious of your time, your energy, your behavior, and your influence. You move through life with a greater sense of control, not because everything goes your way, but because you know how to adjust when it doesn't. In the silence before sleep, the truth becomes easier to hear. And when you listen with courage and clarity, that truth becomes the foundation for a stronger, wiser, more grounded version of yourself. The day ends, but your progress continues. Each reflection becomes a stepping stone on the path to who you're meant to be. Chapter 9. Challenge your fears by doing hard things. Fear will wait in the corners of your mind as long as you let it. It doesn't need loud warnings or dramatic scenes. It just waits quietly for the moment you hesitate. That pause, that second thought, that instinct to shrink back, that's how fear finds its power. It isn't always obvious. Sometimes it sounds like logic. Sometimes it disguises itself as caution or self-protection. But what it really does is interrupt your courage before it can take shape. The only way to break that cycle is to stop negotiating with fear and start moving through it. There's no secret strategy. There's no perfect timing. There's just the choice to step forward before you feel ready. Growth never starts with comfort. It starts with a challenge that makes you uncomfortable, uncertain, and unsure, and then you keep going anyway. Doing hard things is not about proving something to the world. It's about proving something to yourself. It's about showing your nervous system that you are not trapped by past experiences or limited by self-doubt. When you choose to do something difficult, especially when you're scared, you are taking authority over your own life. You are telling fear that it doesn't get the final say. Some fears are small and quiet, like the fear of speaking your opinion or trying something new. Others run deeper, shaped by years of pain or rejection. Either way, fear always operates on the same principle. It wants to keep you where you are. Safe, familiar, stagnant. And the longer you obey that fear, the smaller your world becomes. But every time you lean into a hard task, every time you do something that stretches your limits, you create evidence that you can survive discomfort. That evidence becomes confidence. Not the kind that needs applause, but the kind that shows up quietly when you face a challenge and don't back down. That internal strength is not built in a single moment. It's built brick by brick, through repeated action in the face of fear. When you do hard things, you strip fear of its illusion. Because most of what we're afraid of isn't danger, it's discomfort. The fear of failing, looking foolish, being rejected, feeling lost. These are emotional risks, not physical threats. And yet they often paralyze us, more than real danger ever could. You reclaim your life when you stop waiting for fear to go away and start moving with it still present. Sometimes that means doing things that make your voice shake. Sometimes it means saying yes to a challenge that you know will test your limits. Sometimes it means facing a truth you've avoided for years. These are not comfortable experiences, but they are liberating. Each time you step into something hard, you gain a new layer of freedom. There is power in discomfort because it pulls you out of patterns that keep you small. You begin to see that fear doesn't mean stop. It means pay attention. It means you're entering new ground, and new ground is where growth lives. Familiar ground might feel safe, but it rarely changes you. It rarely builds strength or teaches discipline. There will be moments when everything in you wants to turn around, when fear whispers all the reasons you should stay where you are. But that moment, right there, is where strength is born. Not when you finish, not when it gets easier, but right at the point when you feel like stopping, and you choose not to. That moment rewrites your identity. That moment makes the next hard thing a little easier. Doing hard things also teaches you humility, because not every attempt will go the way you planned. You'll fail sometimes. You'll feel frustrated, exposed, or vulnerable. But even in failure, you win, because you learn, you grow, you discover where your weaknesses are, and then you work on them. You become more resilient, not by avoiding difficulty, but by learning how to recover from it faster and with greater wisdom. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's the decision to act in spite of it. And that decision must be made repeatedly. Every day presents you with small and large opportunities to be brave, to speak up, to take the first step, to admit what you want, to try something uncomfortable. The more often you accept those invitations, the less grip fear has on your life. Doing hard things doesn't mean seeking struggle for its own sake. It means being willing to face what is difficult instead of avoiding it. There's a difference between hardship and harm. You don't need to suffer needlessly, but you do need to grow intentionally. And real growth almost always demands challenge. Your mind will resist at first. It will try to talk you out of it. It will come up with 100 reasons why now is not the time. But you must train your mind to follow your vision, not your comfort. That requires discipline. It requires you to become your own coach, to recognize when fear is speaking, and to choose progress anyway. You will be surprised by what you can handle when you stop underestimating yourself. You will be amazed at how capable you are when you stop waiting for ideal conditions. And you will begin to understand that courage is not something you either have or don't. It's something you build through practice. The people who grow the most are not the ones with the easiest paths. They are the ones who keep stepping into difficulty with their eyes open. They are the ones who understand that pain can be a teacher, not just a punishment. They are the ones who use discomfort as a guide, not a barrier. Every time you choose to do the harder thing, every time you say yes to growth instead of fear, you shift the trajectory of your life. You widen your possibilities. You expand your limits. You create a self-respect that no external validation can give you. Because you know what it took. You know you didn't shrink back. You know you did what mattered, even when it was hard. So let today be a starting point. Not for waiting until fear disappears, but for doing what must be done while fear is still present. Start with something small. Speak a truth you've been holding in. Try a new skill. Take a step toward the challenge you've been avoiding. Then do it again tomorrow, and again the day after that. Not because you feel brave, but because you're becoming brave. The more hard things you face, the easier it becomes to trust yourself. And when you trust yourself, fear loses its grip. You stop avoiding. You stop delaying. You stop doubting. And you start living fully. Not behind walls of safety, but in the open air of challenge and freedom. That is the path. That is the work. That is how you grow. Chapter 10. Celebrate small wins to build lasting confidence. Confidence doesn't come all at once. It doesn't arrive like a thunderclap or burst through the door with applause. It's built slowly, piece by piece, through actions you take and choices you repeat. And one of the most overlooked yet most powerful habits to grow your confidence is to celebrate your small wins, not just the big milestones, but the tiny moments that move you forward even slightly. Those moments matter more than people realize. Most people wait for major success before they allow themselves to feel proud. They postpone self-recognition until they've done something remarkable, and in doing so, they miss the truth. The foundation of real self-belief is laid in the smallest victories. When you acknowledge your effort, even when the result seems minor, you signal to your brain that progress counts. That doing your best counts. That forward movement, however modest, deserves recognition. The mind thrives on reinforcement. If it senses that effort goes unnoticed, it eventually begins to stall. But when you train yourself to notice and celebrate progress, getting out of bed when it's hard, choosing discipline when you could have quit, speaking up when you were tempted to stay silent, you cultivate momentum. That momentum becomes resilience, and resilience becomes confidence. Confidence built this way doesn't waver when circumstances change. It's not rooted in perfection or external success. It's rooted in trust. Trust in your ability to try, to adapt, to keep going. That trust is what holds you steady when things get hard. That trust is what allows you to take risks, because you've learned that you don't need to win big to validate your efforts. It's easy to overlook a small step because it doesn't feel like much. But if you pause, you'll realize how powerful it actually is. The decision to follow through when no one's watching, the discipline to stick with a new habit for another day, the courage to have a difficult conversation, all of these are wins. All of these deserve to be seen. And when you start seeing them, you start believing in yourself more deeply. This practice doesn't require celebration in the form of rewards or grand gestures. It requires presence. It requires that moment of stillness where you say to yourself, I did that. It could be a quiet nod of acknowledgement. It could be writing it down at the end of the day. It could be a mental reminder that you showed up for yourself. What matters is not how you celebrate, but that you do. When you ignore your progress, you train your mind to chase the next thing endlessly, never feeling good enough unless some giant goal is achieved. That pattern creates constant pressure and erodes your self-worth. But when you anchor your attention to what's working, what's improving, what's growing, you create internal stability. You teach yourself to appreciate effort, and that appreciation builds emotional stamina. There is a shift that happens when you start to recognize the wins you once dismissed. You begin to see how far you've come. You realize that what once felt difficult is now second nature, and that realization fuels even more growth. It's not arrogance, it's not about pretending everything's perfect. It's about honoring the fact that you're trying, and that trying consistently is not a small thing. Everyone has a different starting point. Some people are rebuilding after loss, some are starting over after failure, some are moving forward through fear, shame or doubt. In all of these situations, small wins are essential because they're the signs that you're moving. They're the proof that you're not standing still. When life feels heavy, one good decision, no matter how small, is a triumph. Confidence doesn't require loudness. It's not about dominating a room or impressing people. It's about self-assurance. It's about knowing, deep inside, that you are capable of moving through life's complexity with courage and intention. That knowing is built every time you follow through on something you once doubted you could do. Every time you keep a promise to yourself. Every time you notice your own effort. This is why it's so critical to define success in ways that empower you. If success is only measured by giant accomplishments, you'll rarely feel good about yourself. But if success includes the quiet, consistent actions, the early mornings, the deep breaths, the honest efforts, then you'll always have something to celebrate. And the more you celebrate, the more confident you become. There will always be voices that tell you it's not enough, that you should be further ahead, that someone else is doing better. But those voices lose their power when you are grounded in your own progress. When you've trained yourself to recognize your growth, you no longer need comparison to feel worthy. You no longer wait for permission to feel proud. This practice also reshapes how you recover from setbacks. Because if you're only focused on the final result, any detour can feel like failure. But when you're anchored in daily wins, a tough day doesn't erase your progress. It simply becomes part of the process. You can face it with patience instead of panic. You can reflect without harsh judgment. The confidence you build from small wins is stable because it's based on real experience. You don't have to fake it. You don't have to pretend. You know from repeated action that you can handle difficulty, that you can show up, that you can move forward. That's not hype. That's real. And that's what gives you quiet strength. There is something powerful about creating a habit of reflection, taking time, even just a few minutes a day, to ask yourself, what did I do well today? Where did I show effort, even if it was uncomfortable? What am I learning about myself as I keep moving forward? These questions shift your perspective. They pull your attention out of what's missing and anchor it in what's working. This is not about ignoring problems or avoiding growth. It's about building the kind of confidence that can withstand both success and struggle. It's about knowing that every single step matters and that consistency builds self-respect. When you practice this daily, confidence becomes a natural outcome, not something you chase or fake. You don't need external validation to start. You just need to decide that your effort matters. You need to choose to believe that growth deserves recognition at every stage. And once you start seeing your wins, you'll see more. You'll start noticing moments of courage, patience, and integrity that once went unnoticed. And with each of those, your belief in yourself will grow stronger. So don't wait. Don't brush off your progress because it doesn't seem big enough. Don't postpone your pride. Start noticing what you're doing right now. And keep noticing. Keep naming it. Keep honoring it. Because every small win is a seed, and if you water it with attention and gratitude, it grows into something powerful, lasting confidence, the kind that cannot be taken away.